Hi everyone, and welcome back to my channel. So I've gotten a few questions I saw in the comments about colorwork knitting, and while I'm by no means an expert because I just started knitting a few months ago, I thought it would be sort of nice to sit down and sort of show you how I colorwork and the things that I look for. So even though I'm not an expert, maybe it might help you if you're just getting started. So I am working on the Sheep Happens sweater, and this is a design from Drops. It's a free pattern, which is why I'm not worried about showing you guys the chart because it is a free pattern. And I'm just now doing the line here where I'm starting to work on the sheep itself. So let's pick up the work and I'll show you how I do color work. This is a thimble that's specifically designed for color work. I bought it, I tried using it, and I don't really think I'm using it effectively. I didn't find it very helpful to me. I actually found it a little bit of a hindrance, so I don't ever really use it. I'm going to show you how I hold my yarns for color work, continental style, that doesn't use a thimble. So for this particular design, you never hold more than 2 colors at a time, even though there's 4 colors total in this pattern. So like there's the sky color, the white sheep, the face of the sheep, and then the ground, the foreground color. You're never holding more than 2 at a time. So each row only ever has 2 colors. I find that's really the easiest type of color work for me to do. I have done a couple designs that use 3 colors in a single row, and I'm not very good at that. So I just stick with ones that use 2 colors for now, and I hold both of my colors in my left hand continental style. So normally I tension my yarn by going over 2 fingers and then back up. But for color work, I find it's easier if I just go over a single finger. So I use my pinky and I wrap it around my pinky. Then I use my middle finger to sort of split the yarn into 2. So I have one of my colors below my middle finger and one of the colors above my middle finger. And then finally, I put my knuckle of my pointer finger in between the 2 colors. So now I have the blush coming off that's closest to me and the white that's furthest away. So once I have my yarn all tensioned on my finger like this, you can just start picking the color that you need. So for now in my design, I need to do 6 blush, and I've already done 1 stitch of blush over here. So I'm going to do the other 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now it's time for white, and you just do the same way, except I pick the white up instead of the blush. Now every time I do a color change, and this is one of the reasons why it takes me a lot longer to do color work. So every time I do a color change, I'll stitch 1 in the new color, and then I'll flip it around to the back and sort of adjust my float. So the floats are these little bits of yarn that travel behind your work. So even though you see very little of like the white snows flakes up here, when you turn it to the back, you can see how that white is traveling along. So I adjust my float to make sure that I have good tension on it. If you don't have good tension, or like if it's too tight, you'll get some puckering in your sweaters, and certainly I can see that in like the first sweater I made. Sometimes that can be blocked away, but sometimes it can't. So I try to adjust my tension every time I change my colors, and so I got that one looking good. If your tension is too loose, which means you have too much of that float in the back, it can sort of distort your stitches and you get long holes in the front. So that's the opposite problem. So now that my tension looks good, I'm going to go ahead and continue on with the rest of my white stitches. Now it's back to blush, so I'll do 1 stitch in blush. And then check my tension to make sure that I'm not too tight. So, and this time I'm checking my tension on the blush strand right here, because that's the one that's being carried. And once that looks good and I'm happy with it, I can go ahead and keep knitting. Okay, so now I have to, Now I'm switching to the part in the design, and that's what my little marker indicates, where I had to switch which chart I'm working on. So this sheep is sideways, so it has a little bit different of a design. So for this particular sheep, it has 9 stitches across. So when I have 9 stitches, actually for this pattern, so for this particular pattern, it says that if you have more than 7 stitches across, then you need to catch your float. So if I am doing more than 7 stitches in a row of a single color, I'll find that this float is much too long, so I have to catch it, and that makes it a little bit better, and then you won't be likely to snag on it. So I'm going to show you how to catch a float. So for this sheep, it needs 9 stitches of white. So let's get our thread back on our hands. So I'm going to do, let's say 4 stitches of white first. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now I'm going to catch the float. So I'm going to go in like I normally do. Then I'm going to take my needle underneath the blush and capture the white. Now I'm going to go over top of that blush and capture the white. And then keep going until the end of my white. So even though it looks like a continuous amount of white stitches on the front, you can probably see here in the back, the blush goes to here and then it's caught behind the stitches and then it continues on. So it's a way of like capturing that thread and locking it in without it showing from the front of the work. So I hope this demonstration, I know it was pretty short, but maybe it gave you some ideas to get started on color work, and I hope you will try it out yourself, because I do find that color work is a lot of fun and it really opens up the possibilities in knitting. I'll see everyone next time. Take care.